Next year, Kings Island Soak City Water Park will introduce unprecedented thrills with River Racers. It's Ohio's first and only dual racing water coaster, along with 7 brand new water slides in their Riverside themed kids play area, Splash River Junction. Hello, everyone. Alongside the peripatetic Ryan Sir, I'm Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans, because that's who we are, and that's who we care about. So, obviously there is some news today. Not really huge news for us because, as we reported in the past, the blueprints and everything were on file with the city of Mason, so we had a pretty good idea of what was coming. But now we have all of the details, and we're ready to discuss them, as well as our thoughts on how things went today. But what was kind of interesting for me was I woke up this morning, getting my morning coffee, and I've got 3 or 4 texts from people saying, "Oh, somebody dropped the ball and WLWT got a hold of it." And people are linking me to this article that WLWT had done, which had the name and everything. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. So I was like, well, let's check the Kings Island stuff. And it wasn't on their social. So I honestly, for the first few hours of the day, thought that it had accidentally leaked out and the news was reporting on it. But from what we understand, they sent it out at 4 a.m. to the news media, the press release, and then it went on the socials at 8:30 a.m. What are your thoughts on that? Is that backward?
Well, yeah, it's backwards, especially in the world we live in today. I mean, you got a 4.5 hour difference between giving it to the news media first and then putting it on your social media channels. And what happens is, as people wake up in the morning and they hear the news talking about it, or they see something come through, so first thing you do, everybody goes to social media to get their news updates and that. So they're checking the Kings Island socials, and there's nothing there. Well, there's nothing there that's going to lead you to go to the website, where you can maybe buy tickets, a season pass, see that the 2025 season passes are now on sale and all that. So, it's kind of backwards in the way that you do it today. It's not 1974. It's 2024. So 50 years later, the news media, you still need them, but they're not your priority or shouldn't be your priority. You should start with your owned, which is your website, your blog, and your shared channels. Shared channels being X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. That's where you start. Then you want to give it to your bloggers, your influencers, and let them share that on their owned and shared channels. And then, at the end, it's the news media. The news media still would have, seen it if you didn't send it at the same time that you're posting on social, which you probably want to. But if you didn't, they're still going to see it on your own social channels, and they're going to pick it up from there anyway. So you're not losing anything by doing it that way. So definitely not the approach that you want to use to get the best success in terms of driving traffic to your website, creating interest, excitement, and really, leveraging your social channels to get the best engagement that you can. And we'll give you an example here of what I'm talking about. So in 2025, they, again, at 8:30, 4.5 hours later, they put it on their social media channels. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that they got 732 likes, 155 comments, 210 shares. Conversely, the last announcement I was involved with, and I used to have to battle to try to put it on social at the same time, had that same argument. It's not 1974 anymore. We got it. This is how you should do it in today's world. I was, sent to a lot of different social media conferences to learn, how you do it in today's world. And back in 2022, that last announcement that I was involved in, by doing it in conjunction with it going out to the news media for Adventure Port, you had 4.3K likes, over 1K comments, 1.6K shares. So obviously, the more people that saw this on social media, the more people that were going to click the link to learn more, the more people that were going to see that season passes were on sale, that were going to buy passes, buy dining plans, renew their passes, renew their dining plans, their drink plans. And oh, by the way, let's see when they're open the rest of this year. So I mean, the proof is right there that when you have more experienced people in those key positions, that they're veterans in PR, they're experienced in social media, they know how to best get engagement and drive traffic to your website versus the novice level type people that are there now. I mean, you can see the difference, and it's not just you and I talking about this. I mean, the metrics don't lie.
Yeah, and then I'm sure that apologists will come back and say we're talking about a 2-year-old post versus a 8-hour-old post. That's true, but the argument would be that the lion's share of interactions are within the first several hours. And
well, yeah, I mean, within 24 hours on Facebook, I mean, it's the next day's news. I mean, people don't circle back to your social media channels. So what you're going to garner within 24 hours is pretty much what you're going to get. So, yeah, I mean, you can make whatever excuses you want. You can say this was going on in the world this year versus that year, whatever. Bottom line is, it was not a wise decision to wait 4.5 hours later to put it on social media. It should have gone out at the same time. So the people that did go to their social media channels when they heard about it, they didn't see anything there, and they might not have come back. And obviously, the stats kind of bear that out.
Yeah, and so it seems like as they have a tendency to do, the big players like the season pass holder group and all that, they pull their information from the news media, of course. Got plenty of likes and shares and stuff, but then you have them off your property. You're on rented land.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you do not want to be on rented land, or someone else's property.
Yeah.
You want them on your website. You want them on your blog. If you have to get them off your own channels, you want them at least on your own shared channels, which are, again, the printing press today. It's Facebook, Instagram, X. We talk about YouTube. We mentioned TikTok. It's not the Cincinnati Enquirer. It's not the Dayton Daily News. It's not Local 12. It's not Channel 5, WLWT. It's not WCPO Channel 9. It's not WKRC Channel 12. That is not what the printing press is today. Yeah, you want that coverage from them, and you're still going to get it. But in 2024, if you're any PR professional or social media professional, should know that you start with your own and shared channels and then work it out to the traditional news media later. And that's not what happened here.
Would you even argue that potentially, I know that PR is considered a free / really cheap form of advertising. I would say that they're like maybe even organic with the social media and stuff would be even cheaper than traditional PR, because if you can get people online talking about it, the cost per engagement or whatever's got to be lower than having to send somebody, like they send a camera crew out and then you got to pay somebody to escort them and so on. Now the cost is minimal for that too, really. It's a lot of it sunk, but I think that there's a case for social media and these Facebook groups and fan sites and so on to really be the best bang for your buck. But
yeah, and when you give it to the media first, everybody's read the story there, they're done. They're not going to buy a season pass on WLWT's website. They're not likely to click to get to your own website or anything like that. So, I just think when you look at, when you want to drive traffic to your website, where again they can buy passes and drink plans and see the operating calendar for the rest of this year, it's got to start on your own pages.
Yeah, well, you're right. And it'll remain to be seen, how far this goes and how the opening goes. It'll be very interesting. But let's move on to actually talk about the ride itself, because we're not here to, necessarily just talk about the announcement. But I want to show you something, and I want to see if you notice what I did too. Look at this picture here. This is one of the renderings. By the way, everyone stick around, because we're going to show you the first ever POV rendering of this ride, because the park did not release one, but fortunately a friend of ours did create one, and we're going to show it to you later. But do you notice anything about this? We didn't talk about this on air, but we speculated about it off air. Look in the upper left-hand corner.
Upper left-hand corner.
Yeah. What do you see in the upper left-hand corner?
Yeah. That'd be a
Mondu.
Mondu Monsoon.
Right. So you and I kind of feared quietly that this would replace Mondu Monsoon, that they wouldn't be able to coexist. And, if because that's one of the very few of that type of model that still exists. It seems like every park has torn them out. But according to this rendering, they're right up next to each other, but they do coexist. But so you drop down a hill. It is a water coaster. It propels you uphill using jets. I think that honestly, we're going to get into the whole like let's compare it to other water coasters that are within the area, but this will be a fun ride. I think this really will be a popular attraction. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a popular attraction. I think had it, we maybe thought it was going to be a little bit longer. On the
yeah,
website it says 530 feet, and a lot of water coasters are well over 1,000 feet. So just we were wondering how it was going to fit into that space that they had earmarked for this. But just when you have some 530 feet, yeah, you can package it into that area.
So to put that into comparison to the closest competitor, Holiday World has 3 water coasters: Cheetah Chase, Wildebeest, and Mammoth, all of which are at least 1,700 feet. So this is just a little guy compared to those. But length doesn't always equal performance, such as life. So this could be a really cool experience. It's just not going to be a very long experience. But one of the things that I kind of noticed.
No, but I mean, it's a great addition for Soak City.
Yeah.
I mean, that's no doubt about that. It's something that's been sorely needed, another thrill type of attraction in Soak City. So I think it's a great addition, and it doesn't stop here either. I mean, they've added, like we mentioned, there's going to be those extra, new slides in that in a kids area, more seating. You can always use more seating out in Soak City.
Oh my gosh,
I really like what they've done here. I think it's going to really enhance, elevate the Soak City experience.
Yeah, so Splash River Junction. Now, this is something that I think is cool. So if you look at this on the surface, I think it's awesome. But if you start to tear it apart, like this is addition through subtraction. So they took out, it looks like they're taking out that little like Aruba tuba. I don't know if that's the current name for it, but they're taking that out. And then they took out the Wave Rider, and that's where the water coaster is going to be. So if there is one downside to this, it's that not everything that they added was capacity,
That's correct.
So yeah, so we'll have to see. I mean, the extra seating and stuff, I think is going to be a win on its own, but I think it's going to be a pretty good looking section. And so I mean, okay, just moving along, so when the park released this, they released a couple of renderings and stuff, but what they didn't release was a POV video. But we want to thank our friend Daniel Glosser, who rendered this up in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 of all things. And I think it's a pretty accurate representation. For those of you who don't know, Daniel is an engineer. He's very good at reading blueprints and stuff. So this is probably as accurate as it's going to get. So without further ado, let's take a ride on the River Racers. All right.
Ryan, looking at that video that our friend Daniel put together, I think he nailed it. When you look at the blueprint and you look at what he created here, very talented guy. If I'm in the park, I'm hiring that guy to do my animation videos for me. He's pretty good.
I do 3D animation. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't be able to do something like that. So hats off to Daniel. Thank you so much. I'm actually going to include a link in the description. That's just an excerpt from the video. I didn't want to take up too much of the time. He has external views and things like that. So if you're really interested in what this ride is purportedly going to look like, then it's going to be an excellent video for you to check out. But Don, so if you're a video listener, you kind of are suspicious already, but audio listeners probably noticed that you sound a little bit different. But tell me
Yes.
why. And this is not the T-shirt promo, believe it or not. But
It's not the T-shirt promo.
You are not at home, but for a very interesting reason. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, I am on the road. I am in Santa Claus, Indiana. So that's where my travels have taken me, for the weekend. I left early this morning, checking out the sites around Santa Claus. If you're coming down to visit Holiday World, a lot of times it might be an up and back trip for you if you're from the Cincinnati area. But it's worth an extended stay. I mean, there really is, as I found today, so much to see, so much to do. It's really a charming town. I'll have updates that I'm going to write about on Theme Parks by Don, my blog, and also we'll have some social media posts about different things I've experienced while I've been here. So that's why I sound a little bit different. I'm in a cabin where they put me up. So, so I'll be here for the next couple of days, but that's why I sound a little bit different.
Yeah, I was worried about you, Don. So, Don, with that being said, so you're to the point now with Theme Parks by Don where you have, is it the city of Santa Claus or what, the county? Who was it that invited you down? The Convention and Visitors Bureau?
Yeah, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, they had reached out about a month ago, and they knew I had gone to Holiday World a number of times. My articles and that had popped up, in their Google alerts and things like that. So they asked if I would be interested in seeing what else there was to do around Santa Claus, Indiana. And I said, sure. So they sent me a list of like 15 different things that I, might have interest in exploring over the, couple of days I was going to be here. We narrowed down the list a little bit, and, they got everything set up. They've been, fantastic to work with, and I've had a really good time and have, got to see different things, besides Holiday World while I'm here in Santa Claus, Indiana.
Yeah, it's funny you have that much pull with your blog and everything. Did you get the press release for this announcement,
Ryan? I did not. Like you mentioned with my blog, I've got into like 130 something different countries with the reach between all my channels. There's 2 million people I'm reaching a month and all that. Sometimes I think you have to let personal feelings go and do what's best for the business sometimes, but that's not what's happening here because I don't get the press release. I know KI Central, Brad over there, doesn't get press releases. He reaches a lot of Kings Island fans. Chris that runs the Facebook group, he's not on the press release list. He's got all the Kings Island fans there on his Facebook group, so you would think they'd want to work with the three of us, the three that reach the most people. I'm considered a top influencer, for Kings Island. When you look at those different social media monitorings, they all show my name and my blog and that. So I don't know. It doesn't matter though, Ryan, because I don't need a press release to know what to write about this if I was to choose to or post on social media. What you and I are doing, talking about it right here. I mean, we're able to gather that information by looking at their website, or we can check out what other news articles might have, news outlets might have written about it. So, I mean, we find the information, we want to. We don't have to be on that list. It'd be nice if that courtesy was extended. But I, it is what it is, right?
Well, I mean, with their current influencer policy, I'd rather not be on that list than be on that list, because nowadays, if you are on that list, you might have an integrity issue. But it's not about what it's not about what the media is saying. It's about what people are saying. So I pulled a couple of social media comments, some good, some bad, of course. This is just the general feeling of what's going on. So this one was on Facebook. Says from Kevin Fowler, says, looks great. Glad to see them focusing on Soak City the last few years, making it better. So what he's referring to is they did a major renovation of one of the restaurants last year.
They did.
And this year they extended one of the bars, which looks great. All right, next up, all clear now to here on X. Awesome. So excited to have a racing water coaster at Soak City. Very cool. Jenny Smith, this is on Facebook. I'm so happy to finally see more added to Soak City. Finally. Yeah. It's been a while. When was
Tropical Plunge was the last thing that was added.
2017?
2016.
2016, yeah. So 8 years. No, it'll be 9 years next year. Right. Then David Furman. They need to replace Boo Blasters and put in a new new dark ride in. But whatever. Do hang over there anyway. Since the beach closed and now Coney since the beach is closed and now Coney is too crowded. The cycles for the ride are going to be slow. If they want to update the water park, put in an intense lazy river like Volcano Bay has called Teawa. I guess Teawa. Teawa. Everyone has to wear life vests in the lazy river. The SeaWorld one down there, it's slipping my mind. That also has like a really cool lazy river too.
It does.
I agree that Boo Blasters needs to be done, but this also needed to be done too. As far as the cycles and stuff are concerned, I think that's what they have in mind with having it as a racing slide. I think that's a fortunate feature to it. But the truth is, they added 2 of these water slides, and that's what the important thing of the racing aspect is from a capacity standpoint. Stephen Bowser, great addition to the water park, but Kings Island needs a new roller coaster. I feel like removing Vortex took away a lot. Sure, it was rough, but 2 coasters were removed for Orion. Fill in the Vortex spot of land. We're all rooting for a new Vortex spot.
You can't put in a new roller coaster every single year. They just put one in with Snoopy Soapbox Racer. Perfect, really nice.
Yeah.
Family coaster. They've got a great lineup of roller coasters. You've got 2 really good steel coasters with Orion and Diamondback. You've got a great selection of wooden coasters with the Beast, the Racer, Mystic Timbers. You've got great kids roller coasters. You got the nice family coasters like Backlot Stunt Coaster. You've got Venture Express. You've got the Bat and Vertigo. I mean, the coaster lineup is really good. You just can't keep adding more and more coasters. The majority of the guests that go to the park, it's families. So the family attractions and what they're doing in Soak City. I mean, from a business point of view, that's the direction they need to go.
Right. Well, I guess my only critique that kind of backs him up in any way is that, and granted, like the pandemic happened and so on and so forth, but when they decided to tear out Vortex, probably the next bullet point under that should have been, let's start exploring what to do with that plot of land, because it is pretty gaping.
It is, but if you look at what's come since then, it was more important. You needed to update an area, which they did with Adventure Port. You needed to upgrade the kids area, which they did with Camp Snoopy. They needed to address the water park, and they have with what they're doing for 2025. So, as much as everybody wants a new roller coaster, I'm a big roller coaster fan. I would love to see a new roller coaster. But I understand, what decisions, why those decisions are being made in terms of what's going in when. And a new roller coaster, its time will come. But the park has other needs.
Yeah. I mean, I still feel like the park feels like it's missing a front tooth by having no ride there. But you do make a good point. There were no off years. Like we haven't really had a year where they didn't add anything since that was removed. So, and the area where Adventure Port was terrible. There was nothing, especially when they moved Slingshot. So that needed it really badly. Then you move on to the back part of Camp Snoopy, which desperately needed a renovation. It got it. And the water park, they could probably add to every year and it wouldn't be enough because there's thousands of people over there.
And Ryan, the best years the park has had, you go back the past 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the best years are always those following new water park capital and new capital in the kids area. So why everybody, wants these big, shiny new toys that the thrill seekers love in that. But in terms of where Kings Island is, what the demographic is, it's families for the most part. The history shows that, it really has a strong year the next year after they've added to the kids area and the water park.
Well, theoretically, it should be strong this year and next year between the kids area and the water park because they've hit the formula you're talking. Tyler Harmon, I've been saying the water park needs attention for years, but this just doesn't do it for me. Like carrying your tube up all the stairs really would not make it like, why not make it like the ones at Holiday World? I that does concern me because this is the only water coaster I know of where, well, the one at the beach was like this too, but you had to lug your tubes to the top. That is kind of concerning. You know, it's not a disqualifier for me, but there are conveyor systems and stuff. And I just feel like the ones where you lug a tube to the top are very 90s and 80s, you know?
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's the last one I have. But yeah, so again, generally a very positive outlook. I mean, looking at it, the reason I didn't want to pull, you know, Sarah Smith said looks great or whatever. These are the ones that had like some content to them, and I wanted a little variety of what the people that like it were saying and what people that didn't like it were saying. And I think that everybody's entitled to their opinion, but the people that like it made a very valid point of, it's been a long time for the water park. This looks fun. Let's go next year, you know?
Yeah.
And the
I would
people
have liked to seen it be longer than
Yeah.
what it is. Having experienced different water coasters that, we mentioned the Holiday World has 3 of them and the length of those rides. So I'd like to see, and there's been some other ones in Pigeon Forge that are longer. So I would have liked to seen it to be a little, longer, maybe a little more, thrilling. But as mentioned, it is an excellent addition for Soak City, much needed. And I think it's going to be, I would say it's going to be the most popular attraction out there. I'll go out and say that right now.
At least the first year will be. I think it's going to be a crowd pleaser. I think it's going to get very high marks. You can compare it to Holiday World and stuff. And if you installed this and Mammoth next to each other, of course, everyone's going to like Mammoth and this one's not going to get any attention. But people don't know what they don't know. And that's a big advantage in this industry, especially because most people aren't smart marks that know that, oh, there's better stuff out there. They're just glad to have what they have. So
yeah, now on the flip side though, Ryan, from a marketing perspective and you look at the markets Kings Island tries to draw from, we're talking, Indianapolis, Lexington, Louisville. If you're a family and you're trying to decide, where to go and the water park is of interest to you, this one's not going to get you to come to Kings Island over Holiday World. If that's what you're interested in, is visiting a water park, because they've got, the bigger ones, the better ones. So in that term, as far as drawing outside of your market, it's going to be great for the locals, but it's not going to be that driver in those other markets to come to Kings Island to experience this at Soak City. That it would have been had it been, bigger, longer, those kind of things.
Yeah, a little more unique probably would have drawn better, but that's a huge risk because there's a lot of really good water park competition at Kings Island. Kentucky Kingdom in Louisville is say what you want about the park. Yeah. Great water park, world-class water park. Holiday World speaks for itself. Columbus has, is it Zambezi Bay or whatever it is at the Columbus Zoo? That's pretty beloved too. So it's not just the fact that
you've got Dollywood, they've got a great water park too. So a lot of competition, like you said.
They do. And a lot of it is kind of like, it's got to be intriguing enough where it's like, well, do we want to buy tickets there? Do we want to drive 3 hours or whatever? Is it that intriguing? I mean, that's the real question that they have on their hands. But with that being said, it's going to be popular, at least among locals. And I mean, if that ends up translating to season pass sales and stuff, I mean, that's what they need. It's just,
yeah, well, like I said, it's always been a, positive year the next year when there's been new water park capital.
Awesome. Cool. Well, do you have any final thoughts about this, Don? Anything we didn't go over?
No, I like it. I think, like I said, it's been long overdue to have, another thrilling attraction in Soak City Water Park. I like that they're adding the extra, the chairs and stuff. I like what they're doing in the kids area. One of the things for a long time with the water park was that it did have a lot of things for kids to do. So I think you're enhancing that with the new slides and, so the parents with young children, they're going to be more inclined to want to go to Soak City. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's really good what they're doing, and I'm excited about it, and looking forward to checking it out next summer.
Me too. I'm actually really excited about it. When we do this podcast, I don't want to come off as overly negative or anything, because what we're trying to do here is analyze. Like from a business standpoint, does this move the needle in Indianapolis and Louisville and stuff? None of that really matters when it comes down to, like, would you and I really enjoy this ride? Yes, it's going to be super fun. It's going to be really fun. But Don, when you go to the water park, you strike me as a t-shirt on kind of swimmer. If you were going to do that, what kind of t-shirt would you wear?
Well, you are right. I am a t-shirt on swimmer, but I would wear a Carolina Blue Tower Topics t-shirt. I think that would stand out in Soak City Water Park, probably in part because you'd be the only one wearing one. But yeah, Soak City would be a perfect place to wear a Tower Topics t-shirt. You can get yours for just $22. If you're interested, just send us a direct message on our X, Tower_Topics, and we'll send you the QR code, make your purchase, and it gets sent out to you within a matter of days.
That's awesome. $22 including shipping. That is a fantastic deal. And everybody who's purchased it and worn around the park, we really appreciate it. Let's move on to the listener questions. All right, first listener question. This is from Brett S. from Richmond, Kentucky. He said, when is Don getting inducted into the KI Hall of Fame? Well, first of all, you need to get on the press release list. That's a good first step. But I thought about this a lot in the past year or so since you left, because I mean, I guess they do induct people that still work there, but you did a lot in the 80s and 90s as far as you were on Good Morning America representing the park. You did all that stuff with Ruth Voss, nationwide coverage. And then you go on to have a longer career than most. Yeah, I think it was only a part of your career because you did hockey for 1,000 years.
Yeah, 17 years at Kings Island. So.
But 17 years is longer than most people work either for the park or even in the industry because they get burnt out, So I would say you're a good candidate for it. We'll get you on that press invite list. That'll be a good first step. And then in 15 years, you'll be another step closer. And then another 15 years after that, who knows what'll happen.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it's, let's be honest, Ryan, as long as, there's a couple of current people in place, that will not happen. I think the GM, Mike Kuntz, usually makes those decisions on who gets into the Hall of Fame. He may be all in, all for it, but he's not going to do that and, ruffle the feathers of someone by, advocating for me or anything like that. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, a plaque on the wall, nice and all that, but when I look at what I did at Kings Island, the accomplishments I had, the world record riding attempts and all that, and like you mentioned, the coverage and that, I mean, it was international, and Good Morning America, People Magazine, Today Show, Entertainment Tonight, all those things was part of the 1980s and into the 90s. Anytime they opened a new ride, I was at every media event. I was the one that they wanted me to be the one talking to the media to give them that third party credibility. I think the publicity value, was, around $100 million that they got out of the 10,000 rides that I did on the racer. And then in the PR chair, the different things that got, again, international coverage, the Belinda walks, the Knievel jump, just stories that I would get that would travel the country. You wouldn't think that, being at the time, 40 something years old, that the KI and Miami Valley Railroad would be a story that would get picked up by the Associated Press. But I was able to do those things all the time and create a lot of awareness for different events like Haunt and, so you name it. So the body of work is certainly there. That says Hall of Fame. If you look at who's inducted and everything, I don't take a backseat to many people that are in there, but I don't think you have to be in the Hall of Fame, to know that you had a Hall of Fame career someplace. And I think if I look at, the 17 seasons working there, the 26 years that, I had a season pass and was very involved with the park, we're talking 40, something years there. So, no, I mean, I have so many great memories and stuff there that, no, but I do think, where this question comes from, Richmond, Kentucky, I'm jealous of them because, Buc-ee's in the backyard.
Yeah.
You knew that was coming, didn't you?
Yeah. As soon as you said, I'm jealous of them, I was like, they have a Buc-ee's.
Yeah, you knew that was coming. So, yeah, I would rather have a Buc-ee's in my backyard than my name on a plaque in the Kings Island Hall of Fame.
Imagine how low your home value would be if you had a Buc-ee's in your backyard, though.
Yeah, but I would have Buc-ee's in my backyard.
That's true. You'd have all those melts. That would be delicious.
So I'd rather have that than be on the wall.
Well, I see it this way, Don. You can be on the wall, and it's a wall in HR, from what I understand. I mean, I wouldn't know. I've never worked for the park. But is it a wall in HR?
Yeah, it's in the human resources office. So the associates, as they walk through and come out, they would see those that came before them.
Okay, so you can be on a, let's say, like, let's call it a mausoleum in human resources, or you can be the person that walks around and has 50 people say hi to you and want to talk to you within 100 feet of walking into the park. There's valor, and then there's real valor, because I mean, I'm sure that there's some people that are going to advocate for themselves to go in and so on, and there'll be some stolen valor involved with that. But you like, I've walked around with you, and I don't get recognized from the podcast a lot, but when I do, I'm with you. It's like, oh, there's Don and the other guy from his podcast. But yeah, it's a lot of people know who you are and respect you and stuff. And obviously, since leaving the park has not broken your stride whatsoever.
Not at all. No.
You're still doing the same stuff. You're proving that the demand for you is still high. Even if others didn't feel that way, maybe, but you're
one thing I feel really good about. I was told this one time when the social media metrics, were right up there on par with the big boys, the Disney parks, Universal, and that. And it's because of where you work, Kings Island. That's why.
Yeah.
The engagement's high. Anybody can do what you're doing, because it's Kings Island. You've got the automatic fan base. Everybody's just going to automatically like, share, and comment on what you post. Same thing with the blog. The reason it's successful is because it's Kings Island. Well, I've shown since leaving there, with the success I've had, the traffic that I've been getting to my own blog, my own social media, writing about other parks, and other things like Buc-ee's and roadside attractions and it's not because, I was a product of Kings Island. It's because, I was able to, share my interest, my passion about things, and that connects with people. And it works for anything that you do, whether it's sports, theme parks, NASCAR, whatever. If you're passionate and interested in something, it's going to work for you.
Yeah, I mean, people can spot a fraud from a mile away. That's why undercover cops don't work all that well. But yeah, I mean, isn't it like with the metrics are down like 70% or something with some sort of scaler? I don't know. I don't know about that.
Well, let's put it this way: we do have access to that, through things like Sprout Social and that, so we can, anytime we want to go in and just list in a bunch of different what we would call competitors, different parks or different sports teams, and that we can see, what it doesn't show you like traffic to the website, but it'll show you like what the engagements per post are. So you can compare yourself to that. You can go back previous years and do year-over-years and those kind of things. So without going into what those metrics might be today, just that, we have access and we know how it had performed in previous years and what it's doing now.
I feel like there's a meme in there. This is how it was. This is how it's going. All right. I'm going to go ahead and read this one because I know you don't have access to your notes. But next listener question, Joseph D. from Mount Washington, Kentucky. I wonder how close that is to Buc-ee's, Don. He said, can Ryan explain why he likes Flight of Fear so much? As much as I want to like it because of the theme launch and the fact that it's in the dark, it ends up being an uncomfortable, head-banging, headache-inducing ride that has an average wait time of 90 minutes. What's the appeal? What am I missing? You're not missing anything. I just feel part of it's nostalgia, because Flight of Fear, I wrote it the first year it opened. I remember waiting hours, and I've told the story on the pod before where I got in line near the Zephyr, and then the line went from the Zephyr back to where Area 72 is now, and then they had huge bicycle gates going all through that plaza. And then you would go into the press area, which was completely open, of course. Then you go into the whole hangar, which is completely open. And from there, you get on the ride. So, but that was like Outer Limits, which was not million times better than Flight of Fear, but it was a little bit better. To me, it's mainly the theme. The trains are incredibly uncomfortable. I would advocate for new Premier trains, but I don't think the new Premier trains are that much better. I like the theme. I don't see the headbanging and stuff. Like you might, like if you rode it in 96 when it had the over-the-shoulder restraints, you'd come off with a concussion and 2 bloody ears. Fortunately, they got rid of the restraints in like 2000. But Yeah, I mean, mainly it's the theme. I love the launch. I love that zero G roll at the end. I hate how it always crushes my right foot with the design because your foot goes on the wheel well or something. That wasn't well thought out, but I just like it. I don't wait 90 minutes for it. I ride it when the park is dead, so that means I ride it maybe 3 times a season. But I guess to each their own. I'm a sucker for indoor rides. What can I say?
Ryan, when it first opened, I wanted to like it, but I couldn't. It was rough. It hurt. There was the head banging and all that. But, with some modifications and things, in the past decade or so, I came to really like Flight of Fear. So for me, it's now enjoyable. It's fun. I'll ride it if, I'm with people that want to. I'm not going to wait, an hour and a half to do it. But, I'm with you. I think it's fun. It's unique. So yeah, I mean, but I do understand. I do get where he's coming from in terms of it.
Totally. Yeah, I mean,
and for me, it's I had to kind of figure the ride out a little bit, so I knew, because you're in the dark, but just kind of figure out based on timing, what was going to happen when to prepare my body for that a little bit. And once I got used to it, the more I rode it, the more I was able to make those adjustments. So sometimes with coasters, it's about in-ride adjustments to be able to. To enjoy some of them a little bit more than maybe if you just kind of sat back and took the pounding sometimes.
I agree, but I'm going to tell you the same thing I always preach to the Son of Beast apologists, where they say, like, if you sit up in your seat and you lean a little bit forward and hold on to no ride should be designed in a manner in which you have to ride it defensively.
No, it shouldn't be, but it was the same thing with Son of Beast, where the more I rode it, the more I learned what to do when, in terms of, turn my body a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, lean forward a little bit, lean back a little bit. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't have to work that hard, to enjoy a ride, but you do what you have to do to make it fun and enjoyable sometimes.
Yeah. Now, my recollection when it first opened, because the headbanging was real, and it was, I would argue, dangerous when it first opened, because you wouldn't. It's not like in Vertigo. In Vertigo, I don't really have a headbanging problem too, and it might be because I'm 6'1". But a lot of people say there's headbanging in that. Like Flight of Fear in '96, like you would come off and that would be the end of your day because you would have a headache. I remember thinking it was worth it though, because of the launch and stuff. Like, yeah, that because I was like 13 when it opened,
Yeah,
but
love it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like it. I'm sorry. But yeah, I totally see where you're coming from, and I think the wait time is way too long. So they should have racing Flight of Fears, like they have the racing water slide, where they're side by side, so it's only a 45-minute wait as opposed to a 90-minute wait. See where I'm coming at?
Mm-hmm.
But with the power requirements, they probably couldn't launch at the same time. That's weird. I don't know. Good question though. I love Flight of Fear questions and questions for me.
Yeah, and if you got questions, send them to us on our X, Tower_Topics. We have, had a wide range of different questions. We try to get to as many as we can. That's what we do, at least 2 per episode. We might have to bump those up to 3. We recently asked on our X, for some more questions and got over 20. So we're going to try to, get all of those in. There's some great questions. But yeah, I mean, just, anything that you think about, whether it's about the rides, park history, why the park does this or that, you're frustrated with something, you're excited about something, just let us know.
Yeah.
We'd also like to do something else too. We'd like to hear, more about your experiences too, your Kings Island adventures, if you had a great day at the park. We want to hear about that. We'd like to share that on Tower Topics, those kind of responses to us. So in addition to the questions, I mean, it doesn't have to be a question. You can just say, I was at the park on Sunday and I rode this, and this. It was the best day ever, and here's why. We'd love to see those too.
Yeah, shoot them at us. And then like if you, I mean, obviously we get a lot of people that contact us. They're like, hey, I went to the park and I took these photos and it was my first time there in 10 years. And I had so much fun. But like, say like, hey, this is kind of like a listener question thing. I noticed this. I really enjoyed the Beast. What do you guys like? I mean, have something in it that we could discuss with you, but we would love to hear about your experiences. And if you have any like trivia stuff or rumors that you'd always heard, like this guy over here, Don, he's the one to ask. I'm just the one. Well, I'm the one to ask the question, and Don's the one to answer it. To be
sometimes, Ryan, sometimes more than I do about different things. So, it goes both ways.
Sometimes. Cool. All right. Well, that's the announcement 2025. So we're excited about that, and got some more episodes already in the can for this week. So I'm Ryan Sirlong with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.